From fallen tree to finished kitchen tool, the journey of an Amish wooden spoon takes 3 days and involves 12 distinct steps using only hand tools that woodworkers have employed for centuries. No electricity, no power tools, no shortcuts, just patient craftsmanship creating utensils that last generations. Wood selection? The process begins not in a workshop, but in the woodlot, where Amish craftsmen select hardwoods that will determine the spoon's durability, beauty, and functionality for the next 50 to 100 years. Maple, cherry, and walnut rank as preferred species for their hardness, fine grain, and food-safe properties. Maple provides light, color, and exceptional durability. Cherry offers rich tones that deepen with age. Walnut delivers dramatic dark coloring with pronounced grain patterns. The wood comes from storm-fallen trees on family property or from logs salvaged during land clearing operations. This eliminates material costs entirely while utilizing resources that might otherwise rot unused. A single mature maple yields enough wood for 200 to 300 spoons over several years as the wood seasons. Green wood, freshly cut, works easier than seasoned wood, but requires longer drying time after carving. Seasoned wood, dried for 1 to 2 years, stays more stable, but demands sharper tools and greater effort during carving. Most Amish woodworkers prefer working green wood initially, then allowing finished pieces to dry and stabilize. The grain direction determines strength. Spoons carved with grain running lengthwise rarely break. Those carved across grain snap easily during use. Rough splitting. The selected log gets split into workable billets using a froe, an L-shaped blade with handle perpendicular to the cutting edge, and a wooden mallet. This ancient tool splits wood along grain lines rather than cutting across them, creating blanks that follow natural wood structure. The craftsman positions the froe blade on the log end, strikes it with the mallet to start a split, then levers the handle to propagate the crack along the grain. The split follows the wood's natural weakness lines, creating pieces with optimal strength characteristics. Each billet measures approximately 2 to 3 inches thick, 3 to 4 inches wide, and 14 to 16 inches long, rough dimensions that accommodate various spoon sizes with minimal waste. A 12-inch diameter log yields 8 to 12 billets depending on grain quality and defect locations. The splitting takes 15 to 20 minutes per billet once the craftsman develops rhythm and learns to read grain patterns. Beginners struggle with splits that wander or stop prematurely. Experienced woodworkers achieve clean splits on the first attempt through subtle tool positioning and leverage application. The rough billets reveal wood character, grain patterns, color variations, figure-like bird's eye or curly patterns that will determine each spoon's final appearance and market value. Initial shaping. The billet gets clamped in a shaving horse, a foot-operated vise that holds wood securely while leaving both hands free for tool work and shaped with a draw knife that removes wood in controlled shavings. The draw knife features a blade with handles at both ends, pulled toward the body rather than pushed away. This pulling motion provides superior control compared to pushing tools and allows the craftsman to feel wood resistance that indicates grain direction changes, requiring technique adjustments. The craftsman visualizes the final spoon shape within the rough billet and removes everything that isn't spoon. The handle profile emerges first, narrower than the bowl area, tapered for comfortable grip, thick enough for strength. The bowl area receives less aggressive shaping since interior carving happens in the next step. This phase removes 60 to 70% of the billet's original volume, creating 30 to 45 minutes of continuous shaving work that builds forearms and develops the tactile sensitivity that separates competent woodworkers from masters. Modern woodworkers using bandsaws complete this step in 5 minutes, but the machine cuts without regard for grain direction, potentially creating weak points where hand shaping would have followed natural wood strength. The time investment pays dividends in durability that survives decades of daily use. Bowl carving. The spoon bowl gets carved using a hook knife, a specialized tool with a curved blade specifically designed for hollowing concave surfaces that straight knives cannot reach. The craftsman holds the spoon blank securely and rotates the hook knife through the bowl area in scooping motions that remove thin shavings. The curved blade follows the desired bowl curvature naturally, creating smooth, even surfaces without the flat spots or ridges that inexperienced carvers produce. The depth typically ranges from 1/4 to 1/2 inch depending on spoon size and intended use. Shallow bowls suit spreading and stirring. Deeper bowls work better for serving and eating. The wall thickness remains consistent throughout, approximately 1/8 inch, requiring constant attention since the blade cannot be seen from the cutting side. This represents the most technically demanding step in spoon making. The craftsman must feel thickness through the wood, maintaining even walls while creating smooth curves that transition seamlessly from bowl to handle. Cutting through the wall ruins hours of work and wastes the entire blank. The bowl carving takes 20 to 30 minutes of focused concentration. Rushing creates uneven thickness, rough surfaces, or catastrophic breakthrough. Patience and developed touch produce bowls of remarkable consistency and beauty. Handle shaping. With the bowl complete, attention shifts to handle refinement using a spokeshave, a two-handled plane with a short blade that excels at shaping curved surfaces and creating smooth contours. The handle must balance functional requirements with aesthetic appeal. Too thin and it breaks during use, too thick and it feels clumsy. The optimal dimensions develop through experience, typically tapering from 3/4 inch at the bowl, transition to 1/2 inch at the handle end. The spoke shave removes thin shavings as the craftsman works the handle from multiple angles, constantly rotating the piece to maintain symmetrical profiles. The tool follows curves smoothly, creating transitions and tapers that draw knives cannot achieve with equal control. Ergonomics matter enormously. A well-shaped handle fits comfortably in various grip positions, balances properly in the hand without tipping, and distributes force evenly during stirring or serving. These qualities emerge from thousands of spoons made, held, and used, accumulated wisdom that cannot be taught but must be learned through repetition. The handle shaping takes 15 to 20 minutes of careful work. The craftsman frequently pauses to hold the emerging spoon, testing balance and grip comfort, making tiny adjustments that distinguish adequate utensils from exceptional ones. Modern production spoons use templates that create identical handles without regard for individual wood characteristics or the subtle variations that make handmade objects superior in actual use. Detail carving. Small carving knives handle the detail work that larger tools cannot accomplish. Refining transitions, smoothing undercuts, perfecting edges, and adding any decorative elements that distinguish the craftsman's work. The transition from handle to bowl requires particular attention. This junction experiences significant stress during use and must flow smoothly without weak points, sharp angles, or abrupt thickness changes. The small knife removes tiny amounts of wood, blending the transition so seamlessly that running fingers over it reveals no distinct boundary. The bowl's underside gets refined, removing any tool marks from earlier shaping and creating the smooth curves that characterize quality spoons. The rim receives careful attention, thin enough for comfortable eating but strong enough to resist damage from metal pots during stirring. Some craftsmen add subtle decorative elements, a slight flare at the handle end, gentle scalloping on the bowl rim, or carved details that serve as signature elements, making their work instantly recognizable to regular customers. This detail phase takes 10 to 15 minutes, but separates pedestrian spoons from collectible pieces that command premium prices. The difference between adequate and excellent exists in these small refinements that most observers cannot articulate, but everyone's hands notice during use. Modern production skips this step entirely, creating functionally adequate utensils that lack the refined character that distinguishes handcraft from manufactured goods. Rough sanding. The carved spoon receives its first sanding using coarse 60 to 80 grit sandpaper that removes remaining tool marks and begins the surface refinement that will continue through progressively finer grits. Hand sanding follows grain direction consistently, preventing cross-grain scratches that would remain visible even after final finishing. The paper wraps around fingers or small blocks that conform to the spoon's curves, ensuring consistent pressure across all surfaces. The craftsman feels constantly for rough spots, checking progress by touch more than sight. Fingers detect surface irregularities that eyes miss, making tactile feedback essential to achieving the smooth finish that customers expect and that makes spoons pleasant to use. The coarse sanding takes 15 to 20 minutes of steady work. No power sanders appear in Amish workshops. The hand sanding provides better control while creating the meditative rhythm that characterizes traditional crafts. The sanding dust gets collected carefully rather than blown away. This fine sawdust goes to gardens as compost amendment or gets used as animal bedding, reflecting the Amish waste-nothing ethic that treats all byproducts as potential resources. Modern production sanding happens in seconds using power sanders that create perfectly smooth but characterless surfaces. The hand-sanded spoon retains subtle irregularities that reveal its handmade nature, qualities that connoisseurs value rather than viewing as defects. Fine sanding. Progressive sanding through 120, 180, and 220 grit papers refines the surface to increasingly smooth finishes that feel like silk under fingertips. Each grit level takes approximately 10 minutes of careful attention. The craftsman must completely remove scratches from the previous grit before advancing to the next, since coarser scratches remain visible under finer sanding and become more apparent after oil application. Some craftsmen employ water raising between grits, dampening the wood slightly to raise grain fibers, allowing them to dry, then sanding them smooth. This technique prevents grain raising later when the spoon gets washed, ensuring the smooth finish survives actual kitchen use. Premium spoons destined for highest price markets receive final sanding with 400 grit paper that creates mirror-like smoothness, though most kitchen spoons stop at 220 grit since the additional refinement provides minimal functional benefit. The total sanding time ranges from 30 to 40 minutes across all grits, substantial investment that dramatically affects user experience. Rough spoons feel unpleasant and can splinter. Properly sanded spoons feel wonderful in hand and deliver satisfaction that transcends mere functionality. The sanding represents the difference between craft and carpentry, between objects made for use and objects made for enjoyment during use. Oil application. Food-safe mineral oil or walnut oil gets applied liberally to the completely sanded spoon, soaking into the wood to protect it from moisture and food while enhancing grain visibility and color depth. The first coat gets absorbed quickly, the dry wood drinking the oil hungrily. After 20 to 30 minutes, excess oil gets wiped away thoroughly. Remaining surface oil would feel greasy and attract dust during the drying period. The second coat goes on the following day after the first coat has fully absorbed. The third coat follows on the third day. This multi-day finishing process requires patience, but creates durable protection that single-coat finishing cannot match. The oil brings out wood character dramatically. Plain maple reveals subtle figure patterns invisible in raw wood. Cherry deepens to rich amber tones. Walnut grain becomes boldly pronounced. The transformation from rough carved wood to beautiful finished utensil happens primarily during oiling. Some craftsmen use beeswax mixed with mineral oil for final coats, creating slightly harder finish that resists water better than pure oil. The beeswax application involves warming the mixture, applying it, letting it cool, then buffing to a soft sheen. The oiling requires no special skill, but demands the patience to wait between coats. Drying period. The freshly oiled spoon hangs in a dry, well-ventilated location for 2 to 3 days while the oil fully absorbs, cures, and the wood stabilizes at ambient humidity levels. Rushing this step ruins the finish. Insufficient drying time leaves tacky surfaces that collect dust and never fully harden. Proper drying creates the smooth, dry feel that characterizes quality wooden utensils. During drying, subtle changes occur. Green wood continues releasing moisture, possibly warping slightly as it moves. The oil penetrates deeper into wood fibers. The finish hardens to its final state. The hanging location matters. Direct sunlight can cause uneven drying and warping. Too much humidity prevents proper oil curing. Too little humidity can cause checking. Small cracks from too rapid moisture loss. This waiting period frustrates beginners eager to complete projects quickly. Experienced craftsmen use the time productively, working on other spoons in various completion stages. A well-organized workshop maintains continuous production with multiple pieces at different phases. The patience required for proper drying separates hobbyists from professional craftspeople who understand that quality cannot be rushed. Final inspection. Before sale,